where the government is failing, where I say this is not a partisan issue, was in my moment, the galvanizing crystallization of this rallying cry across the nation, where you had police chiefs of all different backgrounds, you had municipal leaders of all different backgrounds, you had police associations, but more importantly, you had every premier of all our provinces and territories, which, as you know, Jamie, represent the full spectrum on the political ideology scale, all galvanizing together saying something must be done. This was the line that was crossed, that we will not tolerate this anymore. And one would have thought that the Liberal government, with their large mass of public service employees, particularly in the Department of Justice, would have taken immediate steps to address those recommendations in that Premier's letter. They did nothing. They telegraphed that they would consult again with the premiers, they would consult again with the provincial and territorial ministers of justice to come up with a working plan. Now we're getting the slow little drip from Minister Lametti that changes are coming, that we are listening, and we think that we can improve community safety and holding these offenders responsible. But here we are, several months removed from that unfortunate death of Constable Priscilla, that OPP officer, and nothing is done. So you contrast that the government, which should be doing something, their number one responsibility is to keep us safe.
Absolutely.
Okay? They are failing. Every single day, they are failing in their number one responsibility. But what are we doing as Conservatives? We have our leader going across this nation every single weekend, essentially getting the blessing of his family to be away from his young family, 2 young children, to make sure that he is listening to as many interest groups that he can, talking to police chiefs, talking to other interested groups right across this country, offering a vision as to when he becomes Prime Minister, what he will do. Most recently in the House, he issued a press release, I believe it was this week, Jamie, where he indicated that a Poilievre government will take immediate steps to undo the damaging impacts to Bill C-5, and I know I've spoken at great length about Bill C-5, which essentially eliminated all the mandatory minimum penalties for our most serious offenses, given the offenders the luxury of serving their sentences in the comfort of their own homes. He's going to tackle that. He's going to address the consequences of Bill C-75, which instituted, in our view, this catch and release mentality, this principle of restraint. Now, as a lawyer, I still have to be mindful, Jamie, and I don't want our listeners to get the wrong impression. As a lawyer, I strongly and will defend with every breath our constitutional rights, the charter rights that we have that apply to every single Canadian, regardless of whatever criminal charge that you find yourself involved in. You have that presumption of innocence. You have the presumption that you can receive reasonable bail. But the Charter does not guarantee bail. Right. And while some individuals, even charged with first-degree murder, do get released on bail, there is a process. And that process, in my view, was significantly weakened by Bill 75. And I like to think of the criminal justice system as a pendulum. That pendulum, in my view, should be squarely in the middle at all times, where you have the respect for the Charter and the respect for the constitutional rights of the accused, but you also balance that. You don't belittle it, and you don't give a greater emphasis to community safety and the safety of victims. Unfortunately, Bill 75 moved that pendulum towards the accused at the expense of the community. And I've been advocating for a balanced approach to our criminal justice system ever since I became a politician, and that's what a Poilievre majority government, a new majority government in this country, will strive to do. So in addition to that pronouncement by our leader, Pierre Poilievre, we have two of our colleagues as well who are trying to make meaningful changes. Most recently this week, we had our colleague Pierre Paulus introduce Bill C-323, which is designed to claw back the impacts of Bill C-5. I don't anticipate we're going to get that passed, but at least it telegraphs to Canadians that we, as His Majesty's loyal opposition, are not going to sit idly by waiting whenever the government deems it appropriate to make the adjustment to our laws to keep our community safe. So he has done something. Our colleague Frank Caputo, another former Crown attorney through Bill C-313, is also addressing some significant changes to the bail regime dealing with repeat serial offenders, particularly with prohibited weapons. So I want the readership, the listeners, to truly appreciate that we as Conservatives have always believed in good government, law, and order, and we will always follow that edict, and we are taking concrete steps to deal with that.